Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. This week is the beginning of a new major update, and not just any update. This month is a crossover, an extra rare treat. This means we've got about a month to try to summon Agnes and Elaine from the Legend of Heroes Kuro no Kiseki. The third character is Van, a man, who will be available as a free SSR from the Secret Realm event. As a raid-up banner, whenever you manage to get an SSR hero, it'll have a 40% chance of being either Agnes or Elaine, with the remaining 20% chance reserved for any random off-banner unit in the regular summoning pool. Alright, let's get started with Agnes. Agnes is a magical DPS/utility healer, kind of in the same vein as Rachel or Mariandel. Most of her normal skills are DPS, like Heaven's Sanction, Windblade, Holy Word, Holy Missile, and two unique AoEs, one that can speed up a nearby ally's cooldowns, but she has a supportive talent and 3-cost skill. Her talent boosts her stats when she has buffs and heals the 2 lowest allies after she deals damage. She also has an aura that allows allies within 5 spaces to revive if they get killed. This can only happen twice per battle and only once per ally. In other words, it'll affect 2 separate allies, then it's done. The downside is they revive with a crippling 2-turn debuff that reduces their mobility, halves their damage dealt, and makes them unable to use active skills. Fortunately, she does have a way to mitigate this effect. Her 3C is an active 4-span heal centered on herself that cleanses a couple debuffs, grants regen, increases damage dealt, and importantly, removes that debuff from anyone revived by her talent. So someone can come back to life, then she can pop her 3C heal, and they're basically back to normal. She's a member of Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke, Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane, and Legion of Glory, buffed by Ledin, Elwyn, and Grenier. For bonds, we all know the drill by now. Fortunately for everyone involved, collab characters don't roadblock each other's bonds, and they don't need other SSRs for their own bonds. So all you have to do is unlock their final classes to unlock their full potential. For content, she's nothing too special for PvE, other than in the usual sense that anyone with a unique mechanic can sometimes be sneakily useful for some challenges. For example, maybe there's a map where you'd really like a couple of your allies to be able to come back to life. I'd say she's more suited to PvP, but even there, she'll be more of a box customization unit rather than a must-include. Turtle players may enjoy having her as a secondary healer to help keep their DPS alive after getting assassinated, for example. She's not going to be needed in every box, but if she brings some value to your team, then have fun. Now let's look at her build. What do you mean build? We don't talk about builds in Should You Summon. We might as well throw down some quick basics, it's not going to hurt anyone. For class, she has more bulk and damage in her mage class, but she has better healing and can be buffed by Lightbringer in her holy class. For gear, you're probably going to want something like Nightbloom, Tenyo's headdress, or electric headwear if you're an anti-displacement turtle, Tenyo's robe, and swordsmith metal. Clock seems like it'll have good value for her. You can't clock her 3C, but it will help with uptime on her other skills, which will help keep those passive talent heals coming. Next up, we'll move along to Elaine. Elaine is a strong physical DPS whose central gimmick involves building up talent stacks that eventually trigger her act again. She builds up stacks in a couple ways. Each instance of damage dealt, including fixed damage, increases stacks, or if she doesn't get to attack on a turn, she converts her remaining mobility to stacks. Each stack increases damage dealt in battle, and once you get to max stacks and attack, the stacks clear and you act again. Her 3-cost skill passively increases her mobility if she has any talent stacks. The active component is a 1.8 times single target attack at 2 range, allowing melee soldiers to get in on the attack. After battle, it spikes nearby enemies with fixed damage, and if you kill the target, you get 4 talent stacks. She has 3 other unique skills. Her 1C is a line AoE that inflicts passive block. She has a single target 2C that's basically air slash but with a fixed damage pop before and after battle, obviously to help her build up talent stacks more quickly. She also has an AoE 2C that strips a buff from each enemy, nothing too special. She's a member of Heroes of Time, buffed by Joshua, Angelica, and Yusuke, Strategic Masters, buffed by Ultimuller, Lanford, and Grenshiel, and Meteor Strike, buffed by Zerida and Epsilon. For content, units with built-in Act Again like Cherie and Shaltir always end up being helpful in almost any PvE. For example, she'll be a meta threat on the Sleipnir leaderboards. She's also on faction for Phoenix, Scylla, and Jormungandr. She's a strong DPS, and Act Again is always powerful in PvP as well. Unfortunately, both her classes are infantry, and SP Leon is dive bombing into the PvP meta just over a month from now, so she'll be taking an early retirement for most players. For her build, for class, as I mentioned, both of your choices are infantry. They both have 605 base attack, which is good. One is bulkier than the other, so that would be my pick personally. The less bulky class has more skill, which is meant to synergize with an element of her 3C passive, which reduces damage taken if you outskill the attacker, but it's one of those vague, the higher the skill difference, the higher the damage reduction conditions, so I'm skeptical until I find out exactly what the scaling is. Obviously, if it's like, if you have 200 more skill, you get the 80% damage reduction, but if you have 199 more skill, you get 10% damage reduction, then it's a trap. For gear, you're probably going to want something like Demon Slayer, Fury of Tyr, Arcane Battle Garb for more fixed procs, or Tiamat's Blessing for more defensive potential, and Apex Boots. Breeze, naturally. Alright, let's move along to the notes for Noobs, always fairly simple with a collab. Agnes is an interesting side healer option who can really spice things up by letting any old rotten ally revive. She'll mostly be useful for specific kinds of boxes in PvP. Of course, this is a crossover, and as I always say during crossovers, if you're a collector or a fan of the game, this will probably be your last chance to get her, so fill your boots. Elaine will have a somewhat short time in the sun in PvP, but she will be useful in PvE even after Leon spoils the arena for her. Like Agnes, this will probably be your last chance to get her, so collectors, you know what to do. Finally, just my usual reminder about upcoming banners. We do have a couple of interesting banners coming up for the remainder of this month. No doubt intended to drain the coffers before the Mighty Awakener gets here next month. The featured Destiny banner features Lucretia, alongside Clotaire and Maya, so that's good for people who don't have her yet. Lucretia, that is, obviously. The featured raid up has Nomi and the return of Lightbringer, so that's good for people who don't have their premier PvP tank yet. Even the recurring banner during the final week has Oboro, alongside King of the Red Moon and Young Jessica, so if you're still hunting Dragon Boys, there's your chance. The Macho Lotto this month should also be Oboro, and we're also getting Oboro's unique headgear this month, so I guess it's Oboro month. As I mentioned already, next month's update is the launch of the next limited Watham-like banner featuring the excellent Awakener, and there's an additional crystal cost built into that update with Leon's SP upgrade stone coming a week later. Those typically cost up to 4,000 crystals, so be ready. Anyway, that's it for this episode, so let us know in the comments or on the Tone Discord whether you're going to risk depleting your stash for collection purposes here, what kind of luck you ended up having, or whether you're going to skip and keep saving up. I will be trying to summon for one copy of each, and I'll deal with next month's pain next month. Thank you so much for watching, I wish you all the best of luck, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks, of course, to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously supporting the channel directly. Shout out to Levitt, Derek, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, and Harambe.